Yeah, so today's format is basically we picked a topic which is how to build a sense of community via events and activities in your members, right? And it's a very, very important question that we've been asked, by a lot of our clients, a lot of founders that we speak to, other fellow community builders. Events is a very, very important engagement tool for your community. Instead of thinking of it as a one-off event, think of these as like different use cases or different tools in which you can engage your members, right? So how do you create these events and activities to become a tool to create a sense of belonging in your community, in your members? Quick background about myself: I've been a community builder for last 9 years now. Previously built a community platform for doctors called Curify, where we had about 50% of Indian doctors using it to discuss patient cases with each other. So I've been building communities since 2014, formally, professionally. And I'm the founder and CEO of LikeMinds, which is basically the software that powers communityhood. That's the core business. This is a non-profit initiative that we have sort of started to create this industry knowledge to democratize the community building knowledge. Cool. So today we are going to talk about building a strong sense of community through events and activities. There are event formats and event areas or topics which are very, very critical when you're thinking of an event. Like for this event, we came up with this topic because a lot of people have already shown interest in this topic, right? So when you're deciding the event topic or event type, think of few things which are very, very important. You need to think of the vision that you have for the community. Is it aligned with the vision? Then consider the interest of members. The topic has to align with the interest of members. You can't make it something which they're not interested in. How do you do that? You gather feedback from them. You analyze data and some of the metrics. So data could be from feedback and metrics could be real usage data that can also tell a lot of things. And then maybe collaborate with industry experts to get knowledge or them as a speaker. So these are few patterns and important parameters that we've seen which are critical when you're thinking of the topic for an event. But this is the most important thing. You need to prioritize activities and events that actually matters to your members. We want to demonstrate this by one of the interesting case study which was published on CMX, but I was just checking. It's actually a case study posted by the founder of Feverbee, Richard Millington. So what Millington said is, one of their client, they were doing this assignment consulting for a client, which was investing into community building. The core problem that they solved with this case study was how do they make the community teams work more efficient? And this was for CMX, most likely, but let's see, I don't remember the name. But how they did that was very, very interesting. So these guys had a lot of data that they analyzed, and the core goal was, how do we categorize the different type of events or different type of activities that one is doing for their community, the community team is doing for their community. And they categorize those activities into these brackets. So there are certain activities that you do for large audiences, which are, let's say, social media on Instagram, whereas there are certain activities do for the smaller audience. Think of these as, let's say, people who are on your WhatsApp groups, or when you speak with them one-to-one more often. These are, let's say, those kind of people, or smaller events where you do roundtables, right? So one dimension was that, and second was the impact on their community would be short-term or long-term. So with that framework, they decided different activities that the community team does. And they also categorized certain type of events that they were doing. So this is the sort of activity dimension that they came with. So the community team was engaging super users. They were replying to unanswered questions. They were doing weekly newsletter. Now, one of the things that they did was they speak to the members of the community as well. When they spoke to the members of the community, the members told them that, hey, we are coming in this community to get the answers for our questions, right? Now that they prioritized. So they actually took feedback from the members and they prioritize certain activities that they should do for their members, and then removed and cut down most of them. So one example is, let's say if you're running a Slack community and you're running 50 channels on Slack, and let's say 20 of them haven't had any engagement in last 1 year, just delete them. So there were certain insights like these that they got, and eventually they cut down on the non-core activities based on the members' feedback. And that saved 60% of the time that the community team was investing. So that's what prioritizing activities based on what matters to your members can do for you. Now, quickly moving on to what are the different stages of event planning. We've done a past roundtable, I think, or a panel on this specific topic. So I'll not go a lot detail into it, but you can find that out on our YouTube channel. So generally, when you're planning an event, you should research and define the goal of the event, or maybe even bigger, define the goal of the organization that you're hitting with that event. So whether you are hitting the event, creating the event focused on retention of users. So that goal, that event will be planned differently. And I'll talk about in more detail about it. But think of the business goal first, and then think of the tactical ways in which the event will help into that business goal, and create event objectives. Then curate the event, find the speakers, think of the topic, do all the work that we just discussed. Then just implement it, do things on your own or coordinate with the team, work with the marketing team, work with the support team, work with the content team. If there is no other content person, you yourself work on the content. Today, there is good AI helping us with that. And then, just execute. So, like I said, there is a detailed roundtable on it. Maybe Siddharth will link it, on our YouTube when this event is streamed there. Siddharth is our video guy. Thanks, Siddharth, for doing all the hard work. So these were some of the ways how our volunteer leaders, community creators, have seen events being designed to create belonging. One of the things that Vineet recommended was every community builder should have an event checklist. Think of different formats that you are doing, create a checklist for each format, and then each event has 3 vital components or elements: rituals, event expectations, and newness. And just absorb that. We'll get into more detail about this after the presentation with Vineet. One of the core things, how do you create belonging via events and activities? This is a hack for it. If you can foster relationships within the community through events, that is the magic sauce for driving belongingness through events and activities. You need to create opportunities for members to network. Think of how can you do that in your community. If you actually learned something from this event, you will either talk to the world on LinkedIn about it, and our industry needs advocacy, right? So I'll be very happy to see if even one of you talks about what you learned from this event on LinkedIn. But the point is, now you know the people who are there in the event. Now you know the others, and when, let's say, if we actually after the event spend 5-10 minutes with each other, you'll have that context. So I don't know if time will allow us to do that, but I wanted to do this exercise to show you that can you create opportunities for members to network. Event hosting is not plain event hosting today. Event hosting has to be thought through in different frameworks, which is what I'm trying to educate everyone here. Now, host recurring events. What this roundtable is doing for us is exactly this. We know the format, it works. We've been able to produce good content through this. We have made this event recurring, and thanks Vineet for suggesting the event format to us. You can incorporate opportunities for feedback and dialogue. Encourage members to share their experiences. I'm not going to show everything right now in the interest of time, but I hope that you get the gist. And then you can use community-led content, on LinkedIn, like I said, to foster engagement. Now, Manohar also, Manohar is a guy who has been thinking about event formats for a long time, and I will actually not pick this right now. Maybe between the event, Manohar can pick this slide and explain in more detail. But, please wait for that. Now, this is also something that Nihal has shared. Nihal is one of our volunteers. So this is also something that is shared by one of our volunteer leaders. When you're thinking of creating bond between community members, then your event should include these components. It should include ice breaking. It should include FaceTime. It should build trust. It should create realization of network value. It should feel resourceful. So if you're not able to find value in the 60 minutes that you'll be spending here, the goal of the event will be defeated, right? You should design your events with that thought in mind. So it should improve referrals, it should create opportunities for member-to-member relations, and it should encourage and enable member contribution. Maybe we'll have Nihal talk about this, in a separate video and post it on our YouTube. Moving forward, ice-breaking techniques, which is what his first component was, and which is what I tried to do with that one and the LinkedIn links, right? Maybe that one was more. You need to provide audience the profile of other users, with the second activity that we did, especially if the audience is small. So maybe in this event, this was not that relevant. But let's say if you're curating an event with only 10 people, doing this actually creates curiosity in your members, right? So this is one way to break the ice for your members. Take a pause during the event and bring a member to the stage to introduce themselves. We're not going to do this right now, but think of this situation. This will actually help break the ice. Maybe we'll do this in one of our informal events. Gamify the event by using icebreakers and interactive activities. For example, use a piece of paper activity. So Nihal actually, let me share more detail because Nihal is not joining today's live event. But what they did in one of their communities was they created, like in an offline event, these slips, and they put certain activities, in a bowl, and people had to just pick that activity and do it. So you could do these kind of ice-breaking activities, and then you could just like that. That's the other part of the activity. They actually read out the chits to everyone, and actually that. So, for example, one of the chit could be, if we ask Vineet, what activity do you do? So Vineet will say, I do running. Now Chinmay, who is a cycling enthusiast, would actually say, hey, Vineet is also an athlete. Maybe I should talk to Vineet. So that's how you could break the ice, for your members, especially in small events. Now, Minank shared that, there are various ways to engage your audience through offline activities. And we'll get into detail, with Minank on this. So one example was what, Nihal shared. But you could do a lot of other things like quizzes, similar to KBC. You could utilize tools like Spin the Wheel in an online event as well. And then, Minank would also talk about, how Digital Marketing Club, which is one of the communities he's been running, actually provided networking opportunities through engaging games and different offline activities. This actually helped those agencies who were part of those events to land new businesses, new clients in that offline event. And we'll get more details about it from Minank in today's event as well. Chinmay shared, if you can build long-term relationship with your members, like sometimes there are topical phenomena or very categorical phenomena. So, Chinmay runs this community for cycling enthusiasts, and they during COVID realized that their members were not able to go out. They created a daily Facebook live fitness class, as a event campaign, which aired 7 to 8 every day. So it became a ritual. It only lasted for 2 months, but it literally created such long-term bonding with their members because Chinmay's community was able to solve a real problem for them. They were there in the community for fitness. They were not able to cycle during COVID, but Chinmay's community was able to deliver that value for their members. And that's why they're very loyal to that community even today. So you could use different situational event formats as well. Now, this is a very, very common knowledge or advice that people will give you when you ask how do you create belonging between your members through events. The number one answer is make your members host events in some form. Like today, what we are doing is we are getting some of our volunteer members showcasing their knowledge on this platform, right? So they are also part of this event, right? So can you make your members host event? I think this is the number one way to create belonging. Now, there are different ways to actually do that. There are different tactics to do that. You can create a comprehensive guide for your members so that they know what works, what doesn't work. So for example, for this roundtable, we don't have a formal guide. So I should also actually publish a guide for future volunteers. You should establish a clear process for members to propose and host events. You should offer mentoring to those members who are interested in hosting events. You should actually give them recognition and rewards who successfully host events. You should enable members to collaborate and co-host events together as well. So I remember, Growth School's community manager, talking about how they are able to create these offline events very frequently into different cities. Head Start does it every other month in different countries, like the different cities of the whole country. These are all volunteer-led events where they just get together and co-host these events together. And you can do that in online as well. Like you don't every time need, like I don't ideally need to be here if I've created the guideline and the process properly. All it takes is, can you do these checklists and can you get the right members? Can you have those members aligned with the vision of the community and the mission of the community? And can you reward them in that process? This is another very interesting case study that Varu shared in our pre-event catch-up. She couldn't come today. So Varu used to help Meesho, when they were running offline events for engaging their women leaders, who were earning significantly on Meesho. So they used to host award shows where they would make the women of the house come with their husband in these events and give them award on a stage. That meant a lot to those people. Those women felt really good about it. They created roundtables around how can you grow on Meesho. They actually used those roundtables for group studies as well, right? So this is how you can plan your events. The budget was fairly large. Each event, like the budget was for the whole campaign, I think, I'm not sure. But they had like very targeted campaigns done for different type of events. They had about 60-70 signups for each event on an average. Then they were doing member activation, via virtual communities, and those offline events, I remember Varu talking about it. Those offline events also act as a way to activate their members in the app, on the app, right? And they also had an in-app community. So people who were more engaged on the offline event, became more active on the online community in the app that they had. Then a lot of these top members who were participating in these roundtables became, mentors to the future batches as well. And this is a playbook that a lot of edtech also does. They get some of the brighter students from, let's say, the previous batches to become mentor on the recent batches, right? And then, these members also volunteered, not just in mentoring, but also organizing future events. So that's how Meesho did, retaining of members through offline events. I want to talk about this very, very quickly. So Starbucks, and just want to create a point before this. When you think of your community, there are different channels, right? So there are internal community channels, let's say like WhatsApp, Slack, in-app communities. And then there are public channels like, let's say, Instagram, right? So you need to think of activities that you can actually do with your community, even on public channels. Now, this is a campaign run by Starbucks where they created this hashtag Red Cup Art. The goal was to, think of a way for their consumers to express themselves, creatively, right? So this was during the Christmas season. They came up with a nice red color cup, and people would actually, create any art form and upload it on social media, on Instagram. This actually created some feel of belonging with that brand, right? So think of the activity, the channel, the output, it's a science. And I think some of this that we've shared, if we can all use that, I'm very, very sure we can create a sense of belonging in our members. This is how hopefully our members will share what they've experienced, how they're participating in the community on our internal platforms as well as external platforms. So I don't want to get into a lot more detail now. Thank you so much.